Dead Island 2 plays pretend at being a modern game when the reality is that if you've played the original Dead Island, you've played Dead Island 2. This game feels extremely dated and totally feels like it went through development hell before it was released. Whatever passion there used to be for this project has been completely sucked out and evaporated. This is a soulless video game that doesn't do anything to push the medium of video games. I would describe Dead Island 2 as being aggressively average. It's competent in that it is a functioning video game from start to finish without many issues. But is it worth your time? Is it worth buying? No, it's not. Honestly speaking, if you want a game that's 10 times better, I would recommend getting either Dying Light 1 or Dying Light 2. Both of those games are phenomenal and are pretty much the exact same game as Dead Island 2, except 10 times better. So how can I talk so much crap about this game even though I'm still playing it? Well, because I'm playing it multiplayer with one of my friends. Everything is immediately funner when you're playing with your buddies, and this game is no exception. But even saying that, me and my friend have been complaining a lot behind the scenes about this video game and how average and just bad it is. You see, the story is terrible. The level design is just a bunch of corridors. The map looks beautiful and it takes place in LA, which is where my friend actually lives. So he really appreciates the visual style of the game and constantly reminds me how they've managed to capture the style of LA almost flawlessly. But the visuals aren't the thing that we have the problem with. We have a problem with the gameplay itself being extremely repetitive, the fetch quests being literally every quest in the entire game, and the map design being really boring because you're basically forced down one specific corridor with every door along the way being locked from the other side as a shortcut that you unlock later at some point. There's also no fast traveling, or at least there isn't until you get about 3/4 of the way through the game, and even then the fast traveling sucks. Is this open world? No, not necessarily. It's basically open zone, so you'll be on one map that is a big area that you can explore, but then you have to travel to the next map, which is another area that you can explore, kind of thing. Whatever character you choose doesn't really matter for either gameplay or the story, just because you'll end up getting all of the character abilities eventually. And the story is basically just everybody dropping F-bombs because the writers want to prove how edgy they are. Now, the main story is going to take you about 10 hours if you're a gamer, or 30 hours as I've seen other reviewers state, which is so absurd. There is no incentive to do any of the side quests because they will try to trick you into doing the side quests, but usually it ends up giving you some sort of garbage gear or a blueprint for a mod on your weapon that will ultimately not matter because the combat is insanely easy. The game plays pretend at there being a sort of depth to the combat, but basically the most effective way of defeating enemies is to use your CC abilities to just crowd control them and stun them into oblivion while you just keep mindlessly slashing at them. Comparing this again to a game like Dying Light 2, where each of the different weapons and each of the different abilities had some sort of strength or weakness against certain enemies that was very, very apparent. So I'd say that if you're playing this game with your friends, it's maybe like a 2 out of 5, but if you're playing this game solo, it is definitely a 1 out of 5. I don't think that this game is worth the money, and it honestly just feels like a by the board generic video game from the Xbox 360, which makes sense because, you know, it's the Dead Island developers. It's basically the same game that we played years and years and years ago. I'm not gonna say that I necessarily feel disappointed about that because I wasn't holding my breath or waiting for this game in any way, shape, or form, but I do find it surprising that I'm seeing a lot of people talking a little bit more positively about this game than me. I mean, I'm a very critical person, especially in my reviews, but still the fact that people are recommending this when we literally have Dying Light 1 and 2, which are 100% the same game, just better, it just boggles my mind, man. Like, don't get this game, get one of the Dying Light games on sale.